to the fact that in Spartan Ops, the Covenant forces were capturing humans and trying to find out which one of them could activate foreigner technology. Not, you know, any foreigner technology, but foreigner technology that they couldn't access otherwise without a reclaimer.
What were those things?
Some sort of advanced defense AIs. Related to the Sentinels, I'm guessing, but it's hard to say without a closer look. Come on, let's figure out where that transit system dumped us.
Where's Infinity?
This is Requiem's core, all right. But Infinity is definitely not here. That satellite in the center is amplifying the ship's broadcasts like a relay.
Maybe we can use it to respond.
Perhaps. Those beams coming off it are creating the interference we've been experiencing. We'd have to take them out to contact Infinity.
Can you get us there?
Opening a gate to the first beam pylon. Pull me, and let's go.
We also know that Didact has had some control over Requiem and its functionality, because at the end of Silentium, when the Librarian left the Didact at the planet's core, where we are right now, obviously, she also had
First pylon.
spherical decoys placed around the interior of the planet. You can see these spherical decoys in the concept art of Halo 4, Requiem's core. And obviously they're not here. It's just the one.
And they're back! Coming down the walls!
Now that we have our encounter with the Prometheans,
Those weren't the same things we saw in the terminus.
Similar cortical
I'll start talking a bit about them.
They're connected, all right. Look out! Well, he's
Because the Prometheans, because in the Reclaimer cutscene, where you find out the truth behind the Prometheans, because the Master Chief says the Prometheans are humans, it gives off the impression that
Similar phasing activity at the edge of our sensors.
that all the Prometheans have human essences in them. This isn't the case, it's only the Knights that have human essences in them. Crawlers are low-grade, simple AI constructs, fairly disposable. And the Watchers, which spawn from the Knights, are copies of the essences themselves. I've assumed the needles don't track, and it's the gun that influences direction, since the needle rifle does not track as per... So, the needle rifle actually does track. You can actually see this effect in Halo Reach. It's not very noticeable, but you can specifically see it in Firefight on Legendary, where Bungie just makes the AI go absolutely batshit insane with how overpowered they are and unfair they are to fight. And you can even see this limited functionality in the multiplayer itself even. If you slow down theater enough, you can see it. For the majority of the time, the needle does fly straight, but once it approaches a target, it actually arcs through the air at like the last 4 or 6 feet or something to that extent. Oh, I missed a guy. It must be the Watcher. There you are. And as for the
Discovered something
Reclaimers,
interesting
who
about our new friends.
you say means
When
that
the big one
Johnson
exploded,
and the Marine
that
350 you tried to
momentary
use
flash
also
we
had
see was
gauge.
actually a data point.
Right? Yes, that's correct.
Can you tap into it?
So far, I've pulled multiple strings referring to the big ones as Promethean Knights. Beyond that, though, things get pretty dense.
Initially, all of humanity was supposed to be Reclaimers. Fortunately, the Didact actually entirely screwed over the Librarian's plans for humanity when he composed the majority of humanity at the end of the Forerunner Flood War, pushing us to extinction. We were about 10 million strong, and he composed 10 million. So there was only a couple thousand left. Majority of that 10 million all had gauge. They were all fit and cultivated by the Librarian for her purposes, for our species. They were all composed, leaving the Librarian to speed back to Earth to grab the remaining humans she left behind, which were left behind because either one, she couldn't take them for whatever reason, for not having enough room or not having the time, or two, because they were sick or weak. This also explains why the Covenant are farther ahead technologically than humanity, despite the fact that humanity was clearly favored by the Librarian. Another combination of that factor is that humanity was devolved in an incredibly short amount of time, making us genetically less developed than the Covenant species. We know for a fact, given the universe article on Waypoint for Humanity, that ancient humanity during the time of the Forerunners was larger, stronger, and smarter than humanity now. For those of you who've watched the terminals, obviously earlier I explained how the blue indicates the state that a construct or structure is in. But in the terminals for Halo 4, after the Librarian touches the one knight, they all turn blue. The blue obviously does not represent the Librarian, as you should be able to assume. I don't know why I've always liked this view. It's just crazy. Anyway, it wasn't actually the Librarian who took control of the Prometheans. It was the Forerunner Endurance of Will, who was a Promethean, and actually, if somewhat the person that the Didact would have originally married, if he did not meet the Librarian. Librarian convinced her that the Didact was not fit or well in any way, shape, or form, which she reluctantly agreed, and also agreed to the Librarian's plans she had for Requiem. So she altered the Didact's plans on behalf of the Librarian, and suggested that she might have been composed. She's clearly not on Requiem. Wow. Damn, Battle Wagon. She's clearly not on Requiem in any noticeable capacity.
We must be getting close to the
I wanted to sort of see if 343 could give us closure on this, on Endurance of Will. So I asked them what her fate was. Oh jeez, excuse me, more burps. She was in fact composed. It's actually They even clarified that the Promethean Knight the librarian touches that turns all of the knights blue is actually endurance of will. Because the Halo 4 terminals are what am I trying to say? Yeah, because they're terminals, they're records from the domain, they're not entirely accurate what actually transpired. Much like actual memories for people, they aren't entirely accurate. They're sort of organized by theme or feeling and warped in that kind of way as well.
What's that distortion?
That's me. Something about moving through those portals is increasing the load on my systems.
Are you gonna be all right?
Don't worry. I've held off rampancy this long, haven't I? That's the target, but it looks like the entrance is shielded. Let's figure out how to take it down.
Last time I tried to, or I did stream this, I started talking about the Promethean weapons here, so I'll start doing that again. Because obviously this is the first Halo game where we have military-grade Foreigner weapons.
Hit them before you climb all the way up.
Them? The vast majority of them, of the weapons in Halo 4 were designed to combat the Flood. But two weren't. Those two are the light rifle and the suppressor. The light rifle was created during the Human Foreigner War. It was designed to combat, or to sort of have a Foreigner analog to humanity's particle rifles, which were incredibly efficient. The suppressor was designed during the Foreigner Cradle conflict, which was I can't remember exactly how long ago it was. I think it's like 500,000 years ago that the Cradle conflict took place. I might be exaggerating, it might be 150,000. Either way, it was before the Didax time, I believe. And he... Or no, not he, but the Cradle conflict though, yeah, so that's the when the suppressor was developed. Suppressor and the light rifle both fire hard light, which the ammunition is referred to as light mass. Which it's photons that through some unknown process are made to sort of form solid objects. This is also the Foreigner energy bridges that are made out of hard light. In fact, the majority of everything Foreigner related is made out of hard light. These structures right here are partially made out of hard light. You couldn't even see this when you shoot them. You see the blue, I don't know if you can see it in the low quality, but there's sort of like blue stuff flying off, and like every weapon you shoot sort of creates a geometric pattern into the structure. That's because you're chipping off the hard light that makes up the structure. Foreigner warships were also held together by hard light. Now I'm getting off track. Let's see. So the bolt shot was designed for conflict with the Flood. It was created, I remember correctly, after the first century of the Foreigner Flood War, which lasted 3 centuries, mind you, and it was in continuous service until the end of the war. Fires ionized particles